Hello everybody, I'm Chris Provost, and you're watching Provost Park Pass, and today I'm in Liverpool, England, doing a little Beatles sighting. We go on a tour to look at all the places where the Beatles might have been inspired to write some of their music. We're going to learn a little bit about the Beatles, one of my very favorite bands. I love the Beatles. You know when you're a teenager and you're choosing your music, it's so important you choose music because it really identifies with you, who you are. For some reason I ended up really loving the British invasion, the Rolling Stones, the Who, the Kinks, and I love the Beatles, my favorite. And when I turned 16, my mom bought me a CD player. First CD I ever bought was Abbey Road. Whew. All right, let's learn about the Beatles. So Amanda stayed on the boat. She is resting, and Miles and I are checking out the Beatles tour, and we're going to go to the Beatles Museum first. Here we are. Join us on a immersive journey through the story of the world's greatest band with the recreations and key moments of the Beatles' career and fascinating original artifacts. The story of the band that changed the world. Look at Ringo's nose. This was George Harris's very first guitar. And he said it was easy for him to learn on, and because it was easy for him to learn, he kept practicing and learning to be better at it. He says some guitars are harder to learn on, but he was grateful for this guitar. It allowed him to be easy to learn on. So one of the first places was the Casbah. It's where the Beatles played, and it says that they felt they painted it, got it ready to go. They felt like it was their own personal club. And this is what the stage looked like. It was painted like where the Beatles played. So the Beatles played in Hamburg, Germany. They played 8 hours a night, and they played over 800 hours. That's where they learned to play. The German bar owner would yell, "Mach show, mach show," which means make show. So it's where they learned to become really good showmen. That's where they really bonded as a band. They were teenagers. This is one of 250 little records. It's Love Me Do, and they sent him out to radio stations to get play, and they misspelled McCartney. You'll see it says Lennon and McCartney, and there's only 250 of these ever printed. The most famous music shop was Frank Casey, and this is where John Lennon bought his first guitar for 17 pounds. This is a recreation of the cavern where the Beatles would play. They first started playing, and you can see it was kind of like a domed area. When the Beatles would play, so many people would gather, it would have condensation, and sometimes their instruments would freeze or fuse out because there's so much water. They had to dry everything off and reset to play again. And the fans loved it when that happened, because then John would sit there and talk to everybody, and everybody loved that. This is what the stage looked like. This is the Hard Day's Night album. And when the Beatles albums were first released, they'd laminate the front of them. And this is the only known copy of A Hard Day's Night where the Beatles signed the front. And it's hard to see. It's a lamination, but it's kind of worn off there. You can see kind of signature right there. Every time the Beatles would sign the album, they'd sign the back of the album because it wasn't laminated on the back. So it's the only time they ever, all four of them, signed the front of the album. Beatlemania, they just would freak out. Here's an exact replica of the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band outfits. John wore these orange glasses when he composed the song Imagine. And you could see that the nose piece is bent because he and his wife Yoko, they got in a fight and he threw them into the garbage, and the employee actually retrieved them out. All right, so right behind me is the cavern. That's where the Beatles played. That's where they got their start, and it closed in 1973. It's no longer opened. But this is a street called Matthew Street, and you can see it's up and down this whole street. It's not got kind of this vibe of like music and all this. But back in the day, when the Beatles would play here at the Cavern Club, the only thing that was here was the Cavern Club, and these were all warehouses. Now they're music joints down here. But there is a bar right down there, a little green sign, called The Grapes. And the Cavern Club did not serve alcohol, so they had a lot of teenagers who go see the Beatles play, and then after a show, this is where the Beatles would go, is The Grapes, so they could kind of escape a lot of the teenagers and go in there and hide. Now in the 60s, this was the most important place for music, was the Cavern Club. Then across the street, they ended up opening up Eric's right across the street here. This is the most important place for music in the 70s. This is where it ushered in a lot of interesting bands and cool bands. The Clash, Echo and the Bunnymen, Joy Division. A lot of punk came here. Blondie played here. The Cure, you can see like on the hits, Talking Heads, OMD. They all played here at Eric's in the 70s. And as you walk up, this used to be all warehouses, but because of the Beatles' influence, if you look up right here, you see this little thing, Beatles Street, 4 lads who shook the world. Because the Beatles had such a huge influence here, this whole area now is just, it's bars and music. Then you see this called the Wall of Fame of live music. And these are all the different bands that have played here. And they all have like a little brick with their names on it. Let's see if we can find some of the more famous ones. One more recent ones, Adele. Elton John, Moody Blues. Of course you got Queen, Ringo, George, Paul and John, the Beatles. Now behind me you see there's a statue there, and the statue is supposed to be John Lennon, but it looks like John or Paul or George and Ringo kind of mixed together. So it's like all 4 Beatles in one statue. And here's a closer look at that statue. You see it's kind of all the Beatles. Jimi Hendrix. We're about to go see one of the most famous roads in all of England, maybe even the world. There it is. Penny Lane, guys. This is it. We're gonna drive down the street. I love the song Penny Lane, and that's the street that was inspired the song Penny Lane. Yeah, there's a song, and the song Penny Lane talks about a barbershop. There it is, right there. Penny Lane Barbershop. That's where John, Paul, and George would get their haircuts.
5.5 years of age, the number 9 Newcastle Road, which is up there.
This is Strawberry Fields.
Just pull into behind the other bus.
John Lennon lived right over that wall on the other side when he was little. And he would come and play in this park over here to kind of escape. And he'd read a book. He read Lewis Carroll, and his favorite was Alice in Wonderland. And so that inspired him when he wrote this song about this place he would come to escape when he was in his childhood, Strawberry Fields. And this is where he would hang out and play. There it is. It inspired his childhood. He lived right over there. So Paul McCartney wrote about his childhood, which is Penny Lane, and then John Lennon wrote about his childhood, which was Strawberry Fields. So crazy to see it. This is John Lennon's house.
There's nothing wrong with me at that point in time. But he almost close to me.
That would have been John Lennon's
She's after her own husband,
bedroom.
John's Uncle George, back in 1955.
John and Paul would write music there.
Right, buddy, so we put away from John's house.
John Lennon lost his mother in a car accident, and Paul McCartney lost his mother from cancer, and both their moms passed away in about a 2-year span. The boys would get together and in order to kind of cope with that, they would throw themselves into music and write lots of songs. And they would mostly do it at Paul McCartney's house, which is what we're going to go take a look at right now. The National Trust ended up buying this house, and normally the National Trust only buys like manors and castles, but they decided to buy this house because it's estimated that over 100 songs were written here in Paul's bedroom between John and Paul. Not all of them recorded, and some of them were some of their earlier works, but that's where they learned to write a lot of their music, here in this house. We're just walking right down to the house right now. This would have been his house, number 20 right here. And that window right there, that is Paul's bedroom. That's where John and Paul probably wrote so many songs, and it's where they played the guitar. So you know that part of that song where he's like, woke up, got out of bed, dragged a comb across my head. I was talking about he was right there in that room, and he realized he was late for school, and he jumped out of, and he ran out that door right there, and he's running down the street coming here trying to get to school on time. Memory of childhood. So Liverpool was affected real heavily during World War II. Like it was completely bombed out, and they were rebuilding, and then of course they were all born here. The Beatles were all born here, and they had a hard life. In fact, until the 1950s, they had food rations still going on here in Liverpool. And one night, John Lennon heard, they somehow got some radio from the American Army station in Germany, and he heard Elvis. The song he heard was Heartbreak Hotel, and it transformed him and changed everything. And that's like this famous saying that he says, is like, before Elvis, there was nothing. Then after that, music became such a part of their lives, and listening to music, particularly rock and roll. And that's how they were trying to live their lives and kind of cope what was going on with everything that's going on in their lives through music. And we have sunny weather, which I hear is unusual here for Liverpool, which is a great day for a tour. Hey, I just wanted to take a quick moment to tell you how amazing you are. Did you know that? You're absolutely wonderful. You're as good as the Beatles music, and that's saying something, because Beatles music transformed the world. Miles got a little push pop. All right, we had a great day today, and I just want you to know that you're amazing. If you are having a hard day today and you're watching this video, and for whatever reason you just feel like things aren't going your way, I want you to know it's going to get better. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate the fact that you're coming here to watch this video, and I just want you to know that you're awesome. Okay, now let's move. Wait a minute. Did you like this video yet? All right, hit that like button. Now, if you want to do me a huge favor, if you could hit the subscribe button, that is like giving me a huge hug. That's like saying, thank you, Chris. I enjoyed learning a little bit about the Beatles and being here in Liverpool and showing this. That is a way that you can really, that's how, when I see people that are subscribing to the channel, it just makes my heart like, oh, makes me feel like we're doing something right. So if you feel so inclined, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. All right, guys, we got more things coming up. I think we're going to Dublin next. What? Yeah, Dublin, see some more castles. And I just want you guys to know you're awesome. I think I might turn the camera around and show you a little bit of Liverpool though before we end this video. Beautiful weather today here in Liverpool. Like, just absolutely gorgeous. We're walking here on the waterfront. Lots of touristy things down here. City's very cool. Love it. This is the Tate area. There's lots of museums. And right over there is the Maritime Museum. And there's lots of shopping down there. Tons of shopping. Miles and I like those rocks that are brightly colored. There goes amazing buildings. These are the Albert Docks. The Beatles actually have a picture of them on top of those buildings. There's our cruise ship. Right over here, you got these buildings. I guess Taylor Swift recorded one of her videos right there. And the movie The Batman with Robert Pattinson, there's a scene where he jumps off of the roof, and it's filmed right here in Liverpool. It's quite pretty, actually. Look at that amazing building. Liverpool, you're being awesome. Thanks for watching. See you guys tomorrow in Dublin. Goodbye, Liverpool. You've been amazing. You guys might be wondering, how are Amanda and I visiting all these really cool places in Europe? Well, we did it by going on a cruise ship. That's right, a Carnival cruise ship. And right now, Getaway Today has the absolute best prices they've ever had for cruises. The absolute best prices. Disney Cruises, Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Celebrity, it doesn't matter. All the cruises right now are at the very best prices. And you can book these for this year or next year. It's the best time to do this and get the lowest prices you can on cruises. You want to call this number 1-877-510-2929. That's 1-877-510-2929. 510-2929, and be sure to tell them that Provost Park Pass sent you, because if you do that, you're going to get exclusive offers you will get nowhere else. Exclusive benefits by mentioning Provost Park Pass. You'll get the best deals. You guys, cruising is so much fun. You guys will love it. Check it out. Penny Lane. I wish I could sing like the Beatles can, but I can't. They are the best. I think they're awesome, and it was so fun to walk around and see the places that inspired them to write their music. Liverpool, you are awesome. Beatles, you are amazing.